We celebrate Father's Day today. And I want to begin with some words that most dads might have imparted as wisdom to their children, or might have heard from their own fathers. And some of those very wise quotes would be something like, "This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. Wyatt, I am watching the ball game. Bring back all the change." I'm not made out of money. When I was your age, I walked 5 miles to school and 5 miles back, and it was uphill both ways. This is one of my favorites. "You are going and you will have fun." Who's paying the bills around here anyway? Bob never said that. "If you break your leg, don't come running back to me." Why? Because I said so? And this one, I've heard so many guys say this. These guys have this like gift of falling asleep anywhere, but they're not really sleeping. "I was not asleep, I was just resting my eyes." So maybe you've heard a few things like this from your own father, perhaps, or something similar. Or maybe you've heard words of encouragement and of valuable instruction from your father. And if so, blessings to you, blessings, how wonderful. Some of us did not have that kind of father, and some of us did. I, for one, did not, but maybe some of you were blessed and, had a father that just guided you and directed you. And if you did, then it's a blessing. And if not, it's a blessing too, because today we're going to talk about the Divine Father that we all are part of. So we all want a father to give us stability and foundation, a gentle push maybe to become something more, to become something, to give us direction, and a father with wisdom and clarity so that we can rely upon them, we can turn to them. And as I said, some of us did not receive that in the human form, and some of us did. But it's okay, because this morning, my friends, we are here to transcend what we would have wanted or to receive, or even what we did receive from our fathers, but we look to a higher Father. The Father that gave us life with a capital L, life, the true Father of all creation. That Father is infinite and is eternal. That Father is always available with the love and with the divine guidance, always present within each and every one of us. And we're going to access that Divine Father today. And it will be in a most unusual way, and we'll get into that later on, but we're going to continue to expand upon our theme this month of seeing the divine in everything and everyone. Because it's there, even though it might be really hidden and covered up. There's a divinity within each and every one of us to be accessed, to be experienced, to be recognized. And today we're going to explore some of the ideas that I received from Brother Ismail Teta, a powerful, mystical African person who I spoke about a few weeks ago. If you remember the first talk in May, we talked about Brother Teta. And we're going to listen today to the oracle voice, which he speaks about. And you might say, what in the world does that mean? So first, we need to define what oracle means. So in the Webster's New Collegian Dictionary, there is a definition of that. And an oracle, is written, is a person such as a priestess of ancient Greece, through whom a deity is believed to speak. Something that comes through. So do we have any, I love this word, do we have any priestesses of ancient Greece here this morning? Do we have any wise priestesses? Not sure how to proceed then. Because I expected to have some. But that's okay. easy to proceed, though, because within each and every one of us, there does reside an oracle, a divine one, that beautiful voice of wisdom, that divinity. That is there. That's where God speaks through us. Through us. Remember, we are, each and every one, a channel, a vessel, through which divinity does express. This is what we teach here, and this is what we believe, that we are all connected in this oneness together. So we have the ability, when we learn how, to access that divinity and to allow this divinity to guide us. And it really isn't a one or a person. What it is, another name for it is intuition, our intuitive self. And maybe we haven't learned how to access that intuitive self. So we're going to kind of do that today. That intuitive self is our inner essence. And we speak about it often here because that's what this spiritual center and New Thought is really all about. Accessing, developing our relationship with our divine self. So since we're looking up definitions, I'm going to quote Ernest Holmes' definition of intuition. Ernest Holmes is the founder of Science of Mind, which is our New Thought spirituality. And he writes in his book, Science of Mind book, intuition is God in us, revealing to us the realities of being. And just as instinct guides the animal, so would intuition guide us if we would allow it to do so. Intuition remains in the background and waits for our recognition. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. The Spirit is always with us, if we would but sense its presence. So to put this in the context for this morning, which is Father's Day, it is the voice of the Divine Father within. Now we always talk about intuition as coming from within us, right? It's always within us. But what if we expanded our thinking about this and explored how it might be, we might be able to tap into the collective intuition. Each one of us is intuitive, so we're going to have a little thing this morning where we're going to tap into the true intuition within each and every one of us so we can experience it. In fact, what we're going to do is to invite someone to be an oracle for us. But first, I want to answer a few questions. A big question that seems to come up whenever we talk about the idea of intuitive knowing. And in one form or another, it comes up a lot. We do a lot of classes, 3 classes usually a week. And it comes up in the classes, especially in the early classes, of how do I know which is the voice I am hearing? How do I know if I'm hearing that divine voice within? Or if I'm hearing just my human voice, you know, one of those millions of thoughts that we all have each day. So it's, you know, there's that egoic voice going, and then there always is the divine voice going. So the way to access and to develop a relationship with that divine voice is to start listening and to learn how to listen, how to recognize it, And so think for a moment, who is your closest friend, right? And then suppose that you had your cell phone turned on, which we know nobody does because we're just pretending here. So you have your cell phone turned on. Well, the phone rings anyway, so it's disrupted the whole service. So you pick it up, and you talk to this person, and you don't have to ask who they are, because you recognize the voice of the person on the line. You don't have to ask, who is this, right? How many times you pick up the phone, and you just recognize the voice instinctively, automatically. It's because we've heard it many, many times over and over again. So we've developed the ability to recognize without identifying. We know already. The voice of God is no different. No different than that. You need only listen. And listen to it over and over again. And that's why we encourage to sit in meditation, to do spiritual practices every day, to develop a relationship so that you get to feel what this inner God is, because we all have it within us. But we have to hear it over and over again so that instinctively then we recognize it. Over time, we distinguish its distinctive resonance, or that it's that still small voice within us, the Divine Father within. So if you are asking that question, how do I know if this is my divine voice speaking or my egoic human voice, then what we say is it just takes some more practice in listening. And there's no judgment there. That's just information to take in. If you cannot differentiate between the divine voice, your intuitive self, then it just takes a little practice. Learn to cultivate and listen, because there is a wise voice within us which will always direct us to experience our highest and our very best good. And here's the cool way that it all works. God's voice speaks directly to us every day. So is present. So it's this fluid, this flow of divine essence that moves through us, that is always imparting wisdom. So according to our willingness to listen and follow its guidance, the voice will impart an inspired idea, because God is total inspiration. God is absolute creativity. Think of what we define this infinite creator as being, exactly that, creative, never stopping, always creating, never repeating itself. That's so awesome always to me, and I say that a lot because it does. It's so inspiring to me to know that this is a genius that we are speaking of that does not have to repeat one single life form twice. There's no two people alike on this entire planet. No two animals, no two anythings exactly alike. So this is what we're talking about, this divine inspiration and this creative power. But if we disregard the idea that comes through the inspiration that we receive, then we start to quiet that voice. It's like a radio. When you turn the dial down, the voice becomes dimmer, so we don't even hear it very much. We turn it off, kind of, or we turn it very low, so that we're not really hearing the inspiration that is always available, forever imparting itself to us. Remember, we're talking about the divine giver, because this is what the God of love does. It gives and gives and gives of its own nature to all that it creates. But we must listen and be open to receive. And the cool part is, if we pay attention, this voice amplifies itself within us, and it becomes louder, it becomes clearer, it becomes the voice that we start to follow and listen to. And we can, each and every one of us, do this. And the effects and conditions in our lives will be that much better for it, because we'll be following the divine leadership, the divine leadership. Sometimes that voice may come as pictures, colors, feelings, fragrances, sounds, feelings. And as you listen, as you start to really develop that relationship with yourself, which is your divine self, you start to identify these pictures, these colors, these fragrances, these different forms, however you perceive it. with your intuition. And I know for me, when I get an inspired idea that I know is not just coming out of, you know, just my human little mind, but it's something much larger, it comes with a feeling. And that feeling is, it feels right. So when something really feels right to me, I get an idea, just, you know, just downloads, and it feels right, I know that's my divine voice. That's what I attach it to, that feeling of feeling right. And so I move ahead following it, stepping out of, as we say, that little box, a proverbial box, just stepping out because I know I'm being divinely guided. So I follow it, and we can all do that. Once we cultivate that relationship with that divinity within. So see what comes to you in your meditation, in your prayer work, or just in your everyday, because what happens, as we discussed in the Roots class, what happens is that we don't just sit down and pray in the morning at night, but it's an ongoing, all the time, daily thing. So we're always communicating, we learn. When we really practice this spirituality, we are learning to pray throughout the whole day. Just in our, ah, yes, God, thank you, God. You know, that's the greatest prayer, Meister Eckhart. Thank you, God. You know, thank you is the greatest prayer we could ever say. So just those kinds of little, thank you, God. Ah, what should I do here, God? You know, divinity, guide me here. That's a form of prayer. We're communicating. The more that we do that, the stronger we build that relationship with the indwelling Father for today. It's Father's Day. It's a genderless God that we speak of. It just encompasses all. And so, maybe you're new at this kind of idea of tapping into that intelligence within. And if you're still not sure of how to do it, it's okay to ask for signs. I love to ask for signs. Anyone here ask for signs? Yeah. So we ask for a sign, and then we have two choices, you see. We're always at choice. Remember that. We can choose to trust that voice or look again. We don't hear it. We don't follow it. We don't recognize it. So that's part of the learning. So don't second guess the sign.